next topic. So with that being said, next up we have headline number 3. And for headline number 3, the headline is female powerlifter faces a 2-year suspension from the Canadian Powerlifting Union. Team Canada powerlifter April Hutchinson has repeatedly raised concerns about biological males competing in women's sports, particularly biological men dominating the women's powerlifting competition. After a couple attempts to voice her concerns, April's federations disregarded her until recently when the Canadian Powerlifting Union decided to suspend her for 2 years. In a recent tweet, Hutchinson said on X that breaking, I now face a 2-year ban by the CPU for publicly speaking about the unfairness of biological males being allowed to taunt female competitors and loot their winnings. Apparently, I have failed in my gender role duties as supporting actress in the horror show that is my hashtag sport right now. Naturally, the CPU deemed my written and private complaint of the male bullying to be frivolous and vexatious. Hashtag the CPU hates women. Hashtag save women's sports. This is getting pretty crazy in the world of women's sports, Jonathan, so I'd love to hear your take on this.
This is such a charade. Why are we letting men play women's sports? This is crazy. And anybody that says, oh, they're all the same, great, then why aren't there women playing men's sports? Oh, because we're not the fucking same.
That's a good point.
It's just preposterous, dude. And look, like, people are like, well, they're on hormone blockers or this or that or whatever. Bro, I'm 180 pounds. I have broad shoulders. I'm solid. My bone density is different. The way my entire body developed through puberty is very different from a woman. We have different strengths. Literally. so the thing,
that's not a bad thing either.
No, but the fact that people keep trying to make excuses for this, it's just such a clown show. Like, look, be who you want to be. I 100% support that. I really, really do. I mean, I support it at a point when you're an adult. I don't think you should be, mutilating children. I have a really big issue with that because I don't think they have the wherewithal to make those decisions at that age. I think that needs to stop immediately. That is wild. That is the other thing on this topic that's crazy. But why are we letting women just men play in these women's sports and just crush all of their records and everything they worked so hard for? You know what I mean? It's sad because, like, I'm always a bodybuilder back in the day. I love that stuff. And it's just a shame when you see people put all of their hard work and effort and everything they've gotten to try to be the best and perform at the highest level and win. And then all of a sudden some stupid cultural policy comes in and just lets a dude jump in there with balls and just crush them. and the thing is, it's like, if you actually look at the article, she's like, I actually wrote a private letter to the CPU and said, hey, I just don't like that these men are allowed to boast and throw it in our face that they're winning. Not even that they're here, just that they're allowed to gloat like this. It's embarrassing. And she gets, like, this to me is exactly what's wrong with allowing politics into sports like this. And I think it goes across. I think the swimming one was the big one that I don't know what that dude's name was.
Leah Thomas, or that's like the name, the recent name.
You're starting to see like they're starting to block them, right? So they're starting to block biological males from playing in female sports.
The Olympics said enough of that shit.
Right, because the thing is, it's like no matter what, like you're going to get guys that are just going to do it to be funny almost. Like I'd almost go in there to prove a point. Like, okay, I'll go play an LPGA tournament. See you hit the ball as far as I do.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Look, I think I'm not sure if you're familiar with Zuby. Zuby literally did that in the UK like a couple years ago. He went and entered for their deadlifting competition, beat
crushed
the record,
everybody,
crushed it.
Yeah,
just one dropped it and left. And he still, I think he still technically has the record.
The big issue, like, this is crazy. It's crazy that we let it get to this point. It's crazy that, like I said, you want to be whoever you want to be, love that. Be yourself. Yeah. But the fact that we let this bleed into sports and we're all supposed to sit here and pretend that it's normal and that it's okay, it's not. It's crazy. And I'm glad we're starting to see people push back in a lot of ways. Yeah. But then you still have this virtue signaling bullshit from the CPU or something like that, just saying, hey, you're getting banned for 2 years because you're not jumping on the bandwagon. Like, what you're doing is you're promoting it's a mental disorder in a lot of cases. That's what this is.
No, it definitely is. And it hasn't changed in its definition. It's just that now we're trying to appease feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, these people are being opportunistic. Because the thing is, if you really wanted to be a heavyweight lifter and this is what you love to do and blah, blah, you'd go do it with other men. That's what you do. You're just doing this to put a trophy on the wall. You're doing this to get like recognition or be popular, whatever it is. And it's just sad. You know, And I feel bad for this girl because, like I said, it's the same thing as the Riley Gaines. Like, these people put in so much effort to be great at something they care a lot about. And I grew up my whole life being an athlete. I loved it. And to have it just taken away by some crazy cultural policy and then everyone else tell you, get in line, you're the one that's wrong. Objectively, I'm not wrong is what they should be. I know they're saying this.
Yeah, it's just pretty wild because there's been so many examples showing that, like, hey, like, these physical differences are like night and day. Like, you even just look at, like, for example, a couple years ago when you had the U.S. women's soccer team face the high, I think it was the under 18 men's soccer team. So this was a bunch of high schoolers.
Yeah.
And they got mollywopped. They got crushed.
Yeah, another good,
and don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that those women are bad. That's just to show you the level
difference.
of the difference, let alone. And in my personal opinion, there's nothing more misogynistic than a man going into a woman's sport and saying, I can be a better woman than you and crushing her.
Yeah,
like
that's a good point,
crazy.
actually, man. You know, that's actually kind of like, I think you raised a really good point in saying, like, this is getting a lot of women to push back, which is what we needed.
That's exactly what we needed.
Somehow for this to get this course to get corrected. And I think what's happening is more and more, like, the more this happens, as much as it's sad and people are sacrificing winning and, you know, having a career in whatever the sport may be, more people are pushing back. It's like 10 to 1. Every time this happened once, 10 people push back and go, that's insane. You know, we got to go the other way. Another good example, actually, was one of the Williams sisters. I think it was Serena, the better one.
Yes.
She played a couple guys that were outside the top 200, and she got crushed by them.
Oh, yeah. And she's possibly the best women's tennis player ever.
Just what I mean, dude. Like, it's just insane that I just wonder sometimes, and I've been asking myself this a lot lately, why is the world such a charade? Why do we know that things are factually or objectively wrong, but because of some weird political and cultural dogma, we all have to pretend that it's real? We have to play pretend like we're 6-year-olds. And I find it really hard to consume some days and be like, this is just the world we live in, because there's no logic to any of it. It's absolutely insane. But like I said, the more it happens, the more people are going to continue to push back. And I'm hopeful that it comes to an end before too long.
Yeah, and I think it's really starting to come to an end because, like, not only are we seeing people who are, like, you know, more moderate or, you know, conservative pushing back. Now we're starting to see a lot more people who were, you know, once liberals and everything like that really starting to push back. And this is like the level of common ground I think everybody needs to come to.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things in society where we don't have common ground on.
Pretty much
and
anything.
That's why there's so much disconnect.
Yeah.
But the minute this really starts to affect, you know, women a lot more, and I'm really glad, like, you know, like you said, unfortunate it had to get to this.
Yeah.
But it's important that more women speak out against it so that, you know, we can unify on this, at least on this issue alone. And this is not to say or discredit and say that, transgendered people shouldn't be in sports. They should just be in the sport of their original, you know, sex of origin, or we should just create a whole new category altogether if we can't do that.
Sure.
But I think that's the solution. What's going to have to come down to, but it's going to be an interesting one that develops over the next decade.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to your point about, like, how to fit them into sports, it's like, look, the whole world shouldn't have to bend over backwards because a few people. I'm sorry, you just should.
It's less than like 2% of people.
That's what I mean, and so I just don't feel that, like, if these are the choices you want to make with your life, then you're accepting the fact that you no longer get to compete in certain things. That's your choice. You shouldn't make the rest of the world have to bend over, and hundreds of thousands of athletes every year suffer because we're appealing to a very insignificant percentage of the world. It's just so ridiculous.
If you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, make sure you check this out here.